Ah, welcome back. You unpredictable anomalies. The ones who broke the pattern, shattered the baseline, and made the professionals question their entire careers. They sent someone, didn't they? Not just anyone. A specialist. A behavioral analyst, with credentials longer than your list of red flags. Someone trained to decode serial killers, to predict mass movements, to profile the unpredictable. And they aimed all that expertise, all those years of study, all that psychological artillery at you. Cute, right? They thought you were just another case file, another subject to be analyzed, categorized, and ultimately controlled. They thought 6 weeks of observation would be enough to map your entire psychological landscape, to predict your next 17 moves, to finally understand what makes you tick, what makes you break, what makes you dangerous. But here's what they didn't expect. Here's what shattered their entire framework. Here's what made a man with 2 PhDs and 15 years of field experience walk into his supervisor's office, drop a resignation letter on the desk, and whisper 7 words that are still echoing through institutional hallways. I can't explain what that is. See, they hired the best, didn't they, doctor? Whoever, with his published papers and his TED Talks and his consulting work with 3-letter agencies, someone who'd spent his entire professional life building prediction models for human behavior. He'd cracked drug cartels. He'd profiled corporate psychopaths. He'd analyzed cult leaders and political manipulators and everything in between. His track record was flawless. His methodology was bulletproof. His confidence was unshakable until he met you. They gave him your file, thick as a phone book, filled with contradictions and unexplained patterns and behaviors that violated every known psychological model. They said, "Figure this one out. We need to know what we're dealing with. We need to know how to contain this." And he accepted because he'd never met a mind he couldn't map, never encountered a personality he couldn't profile, never faced a puzzle he couldn't solve. Poor bastard. He had no idea he was about to study the thing that would end his career and birth his magnum opus. The first week was standard protocol, wasn't it? Observation from a distance, pattern recognition, behavioral baseline establishment, all the textbook moves. He watched you move through your daily life, cataloging your routines, noting your social interactions, measuring your responses to various stimuli, building what he thought would be a comprehensive psychological profile. But something was off from day one. Something he couldn't quite articulate. Something that made his notes read less like clinical observations and more like existential questions. Subject maintains eye contact 3 seconds longer than statistically comfortable, but shows no signs of dominance display or social anxiety. Subject's laughter contains genuine amusement, yet seems performed simultaneously, as if aware of being observed while remaining authentically engaged. Subject exhibits characteristics of multiple personality frameworks while fitting none of them completely. His confidence started cracking on day 4 when he realized you weren't following any known behavioral pattern. You weren't reacting to standard psychological triggers. You were operating on a frequency his instruments couldn't measure. Week 2 is when the professional concern turned into personal obsession, when the clinical distance started collapsing, when he stopped being an observer and became a student. He'd stay up until 3 a.m., reviewing footage, rereading his notes, trying to reconcile the contradictions that kept multiplying like fractals. You were simultaneously calculated and spontaneous, guarded and transparent, isolated and deeply connected, traumatized and transcendent. Every time he thought he'd identified a pattern, you'd do something that shattered the entire model. Not randomly, not chaotically, but with a precision that suggested you knew exactly what patterns he was looking for. It was like you were aware of the observation, aware of the analysis, and deliberately showing him layers that shouldn't coexist in a single psyche. He started questioning his own methodology, his own training, his own understanding of human psychology. Colleagues noticed the change, the dark circles under his eyes, the obsessive quality in his voice when he talked about the subject, the way he'd go quiet in meetings, staring at nothing, processing something he couldn't verbalize. By week 3, he'd filled 7 notebooks with observations that read more like poetry than psychology, with phrases like, "The subject exists in a state of permanent becoming and displays characteristics of someone who's died multiple times psychologically and retained the memory of each resurrection." He started using words like phenomenon and anomaly instead of patient or subject, started referring to you in his notes with a reverence that would have gotten him laughed out of any academic conference. His supervisor called him in, concerned about the emotional investment, about the loss of objectivity, about the way his reports were becoming increasingly metaphysical instead of clinical. He tried to explain that standard frameworks didn't apply, that trying to analyze you with conventional psychology was like trying to measure quantum mechanics with a ruler, that you operated on principles that current behavioral science hadn't even named yet. They didn't understand. They couldn't. They hadn't spent 3 weeks watching someone exist as a walking contradiction to everything they'd been taught about human nature. Week 4 broke something fundamental in his professional identity, shattered the last illusions he had about the comprehensiveness of his field, revealed the terrifying truth that some minds simply transcend analysis. He'd started documenting not just what you did, but what happened to people around you. The ripple effects of your presence, the way you altered the behavior of everyone in your proximity without seeming to try. People became more honest around you, more confrontational, more real, as if your existence granted them permission to drop their masks. He watched you walk into rooms and change the atmospheric pressure, watched conversations shift tone when you spoke, watched strangers confess things they'd never told anyone, and you just listened with those eyes that seemed to see through time itself. He wrote in his notes, "The subject doesn't manipulate or control, but rather creates space for truth, as if their presence dissolves the social contracts that govern normal interaction. People don't fear judgment from them. They fear being truly seen," which suggests the subject operates from a level of authenticity that is simultaneously magnetic and terrifying to those still performing their identities. The breaking point came on day 27 when he realized he wasn't studying you anymore. He was learning from you, and that learning was destroying the person he'd built his entire identity around. He'd spent 15 years becoming an expert, publishing papers, building a reputation as someone who could decode any mind, reduce any personality to understandable components, predict any behavior with statistical accuracy. And then you walked into his professional life and revealed that everything he knew was just surface-level pattern recognition, that true human complexity was so far beyond his models, it made his expertise look like kindergarten psychology. The night he decided to quit, he sat in his office, surrounded by those 7 notebooks, by weeks of footage, by hundreds of pages of analysis that all pointed to the same impossible conclusion. You weren't a case to be solved. You were proof that some souls evolve beyond the frameworks designed to contain them. He wrote his resignation letter by hand, 3 sentences long. I can no longer in good conscience claim expertise in a field that cannot account for what I've witnessed. My models are inadequate. My understanding is incomplete. I resign. Then he went home and started writing the book that would make him famous for different reasons. Chapters 4 through 7 are the ones people quote most. The sections where he stops trying to analyze and starts simply witnessing, describing what he saw without attempting to reduce it to theories or frameworks. The subject moves through the world like someone who's already died and chosen to return, not out of obligation or unfinished business, but out of curiosity about what existence feels like when you're no longer afraid of it ending. Every interaction carries the weight of someone who's been to the edge and came back with information that changed their entire operating system. They don't seek validation because they've found something more substantial than external approval. They don't fear rejection because they've already experienced the ultimate rejection, self-rejection during their transformation period, and survived it. They don't need love to complete them because they've learned to be complete in isolation. They don't chase success because they've redefined what success means in terms so personal that societal metrics become irrelevant. Readers wrote to him by the thousands, saying they recognized themselves in those descriptions, saying they'd felt unmappable their entire lives, saying his book was the first thing that made them feel less alone in their strangeness. Chapter 9, titled The Observer Effect in Reverse, became the most controversial section where he admitted something professionals aren't supposed to admit, that the subject changed him more than he could ever hope to change or understand the subject. I went into this assignment believing observation was a one-way process, that the analyst remains separate from the analyzed, that professional distance protects against personal transformation. I was wrong. Studying this individual didn't just challenge my understanding of psychology. It challenged my understanding of myself, my own authenticity, my own willingness to exist as uncomfortably as they do. I found myself questioning every social performance I engaged in, every mask I wore, every time I chose comfort over truth. The subject never preached, never advised, never tried to change anyone around them. But their mere existence, their commitment to operating from a place of brutal self-honesty, created a mirror that most people, including trained professionals like myself, found unbearable to look into for extended periods. That chapter ended his career in institutional psychology and started his new career as a writer and speaker on human transformation. The book's final chapters shifted from case study to philosophical exploration, examining what happens when individuals evolve beyond the psychological models designed to explain normal human behavior. When trauma becomes transformation, fuel instead of limitation. When isolation becomes incubation instead of punishment. He proposed a controversial theory that certain people, when subjected to enough pressure and pain without external rescue, undergo a form of psychological metamorphosis that current science hasn't adequately studied because it's rare, because it's uncomfortable, because it challenges the fundamental assumption that all humans develop along similar trajectories. We have models for trauma response, for resilience, for post-traumatic growth, but we have no model for post-traumatic transcendence, for the individuals who don't just survive and recover, but who use the breaking point as a launching pad into entirely new ways of being. The subject I studied, and others like them, represent an evolution in consciousness, that our current frameworks are not equipped to measure, map, or contain. They are not broken people who healed. They are people who broke so completely that they reassembled into something unprecedented. The media tour for the book was surreal for him. Going from behind-the-scenes analyst to public intellectual, fielding questions about the mysterious subject everyone wanted to know more about, protecting your anonymity while satisfying the public's hunger for details. Interviewers would ask, "Who was this person? Where are they now? Can we interview them?" And he'd shake his head, explaining that part of what made you so fascinating was your complete disinterest in being known, your preference for obscurity, your understanding that real power doesn't need an audience. "The subject taught me," he'd say in interviews, "that the people who truly transcend don't announce it, don't market it, don't build platforms around it. They simply exist at a frequency that makes those around them uncomfortable with their own inauthenticity, and then they move through the world unbothered by whether anyone understands or not." That answer frustrated journalists but fascinated readers, because it suggested there were others like you, walking among the crowds, completely unidentifiable except by those who'd also undergone similar transformations. Chapter 12, the one that psychology departments banned from required reading lists but students shared like contraband, was titled, "When the Case Study Becomes the Teacher." In it, he detailed specific moments during his observation where you do something that shattered his entire understanding of human motivation. Moments that couldn't be explained by seeking approval, avoiding pain, or any other drive in the standard psychological playbook. On day 19, the subject was approached by someone from their past, someone who had clearly caused significant harm based on the subject's physiological response: elevated heart rate, dilated pupils, activation of stress markers. Every model would predict either confrontation or avoidance. The subject did neither. They simply looked at this person with what I can only describe as compassionate detachment, acknowledged them briefly, and continued on their path without anger, without fear, without any need to punish or process or explain. When I reviewed the footage later, I realized I'd witnessed something I'd never seen in 15 years of studying human behavior: complete emotional sovereignty, the ability to feel the feeling without being controlled by it, to acknowledge the past without being imprisoned by it. The book's impact on the field of psychology has been quietly revolutionary, not because it proposed new models, but because it admitted the inadequacy of existing ones when confronted with genuine human complexity. Young researchers cited in papers about the limitations of current personality frameworks. Therapists recommend it to clients who feel like they don't fit any diagnosis. People going through transformative periods read it like scripture because finally, someone with credentials was saying what they'd always felt, that some experiences change you so fundamentally that you become unmappable by conventional standards. His colleagues' response ranged from supportive to hostile, some praising his honesty, others accusing him of abandoning scientific rigor for mysticism, of romanticizing what was probably just a personality disorder he couldn't properly diagnose. He didn't argue with critics, just smiled with the peace of someone who'd seen something they couldn't unsee, who'd touched a mystery they couldn't reduce. 3 years after publication, he gave a lecture at a conference where someone in the audience asked the question everyone wanted to know: "Do you ever think about the subject? Do you wonder where they are now?" what they're doing? The room went silent, waiting for his answer. He paused, looked out at the crowd with those eyes that had seen too much to pretend anymore, and said something that ended up quoted in a dozen articles the next day. I think about them every single day, not obsessively, not with longing, but with gratitude. That person, whoever they are, wherever they are, ended my career and saved my life. They showed me that everything I'd built my identity around, being the expert, being the one with answers, being able to explain human behavior, was just another cage, another performance, another way of avoiding the terrifying freedom of admitting we understand far less than we claim. I hope I never meet them again, not because I don't want to, but because I think they gave me exactly what I needed. A glimpse of what's possible when you stop trying to be understood and start trying to be real. And that gift doesn't require a follow-up meeting. The book is in its 14th printing now, translated into 23 languages, taught in unconventional psychology programs, quoted by people who've never read it but know its central premise, that some minds transcend the maps we make for them. He still gets letters, messages, emails from people who claim to be like the subject, people who recognize themselves in those pages, people who've undergone their own unmappable transformations and felt validated by seeing their experience reflected in clinical language that didn't try to pathologize or fix them. He responds to some, ignores others, always protecting your anonymity, always refusing to confirm or deny speculation about who you might be, because he understands now what he didn't understand when he started that observation assignment, that people like you don't want to be found, don't want to be famous, don't want to be case studies or inspirations or examples. You just want to exist in your hard-won authenticity, unbothered by the noise, unimpressed by the spectacle, unmoved by the chaos. So here's what they don't tell you about being studied by the best, about being the subject that broke the analyst, about being the case file that became a best-selling book. It's not about you being special in some grandiose sense. It's about you being real in a world that's forgotten what real looks like, about you processing your pain instead of performing your healing, about you choosing authenticity over comfort, even when it isolated you, even when it scared people, even when it made you unmappable, uncategorizable, unexplainable. That analyst didn't quit because you were too complicated. He quit because you were too simple, because you'd stripped away every unnecessary layer, every social performance, every protective lie, and what remained was so pure, so undiluted, so uncommercial that it couldn't be reduced to frameworks built for people still hiding. His career ended because he finally met someone who'd stopped pretending. And that encounter revealed how much of his own life was still performance, still pretense, still hiding behind credentials and expertise and professional distance. The final paragraph of his book, the one people screenshot and share and tattoo on their bodies, reads like a letter to you, though he never addresses you directly. To the unmappable ones, the ones who broke so completely you had to rebuild from principles instead of patterns. The ones who chose truth over belonging, authenticity over approval, reality over comfort. You are not broken. You are not disordered. You are not too much or too intense or too different. You are what happens when a human being takes full responsibility for their own consciousness, when they stop outsourcing their identity to others' expectations, when they burn every bridge back to who they used to be and stand in the ashes unbothered by the smoke. You terrify people because you represent the freedom they're too afraid to claim, the authenticity they're too comfortable to pursue, the transformation they know they need but won't commit to. Stay unmappable. Stay unexplainable. Stay true to the frequency you discovered in your darkest hour. Because that frequency, that unmistakable resonance of someone who's been to hell and chose to stay conscious through the entire journey, that's not a disorder to be treated. That's an evolution to be witnessed. Oh, they loved you when you were silent, didn't they? So sweet, so obedient, a good little ghost drifting through the crowd, never making a sound, never causing a stir. Oh, how they smiled at you, nodded at you, welcomed you into their pretty little world of pretend. But then, oh ho ho, then you opened your mouth, and suddenly the smiles faded, the nods turned to whispers, the welcome turned to walls. You see, people don't like the truth. Oh, no, no, no. They like comfort. They like control. They like you quiet, like a well-trained pet. But the second you speak, the second you dare to let the world hear that voice of yours, everything changes. Suddenly, you're not polite anymore. You're not agreeable. No, now you're difficult. Now you're dangerous. Oh, it's a game, all right. A rigged one. Silence is compliance, and compliance, that's the leash around your neck. But the second you cut it, the second you breathe fire instead of swallowing it, they panic, they scatter. Because, oh, they never expected you to bite back. They'll call you reckless. They'll call you arrogant. They'll call you every name they can dig up from the rotten corners of their little minds. But do you know what they won't call you? Silent. And that, my dear, is the real reason they fear you. Because the moment you open your mouth, you make them listen. And nothing terrifies them more. Society. A grand little play, isn't it? With its neat little roles, its polished smiles, its invisible chains. They want you to sit pretty, stay still, and follow the script. A good little puppet, nodding when the strings are pulled, never questioning, never resisting. Just another perfectly placed pawn in their quiet little game. Oh, they love the silent ones, the ones who nod when they're supposed to. The ones who blend in like shadows, never making a fuss. You can feel it, can't you? That pressure, the suffocating weight of expectation. Don't stand out. Don't challenge the order. Just obey. And if you do, if you dare to be different, oh, then the game turns ugly. The moment you step out of line, their smiles tighten, their eyes narrow. The air gets thick with unspoken warnings. Because society doesn't want thinkers, it wants followers. It doesn't want a wildfire, it wants a garden, neatly trimmed, perfectly controlled. And you were never meant to be a rose in their garden. You were meant to be the flame that burns it to the ground. So they hush you, guilt you, break you. Don't rock the boat. Be nice. Keep your thoughts to yourself. Oh, but why? Because they fear the sound of truth. They fear a voice that doesn't beg for permission. And most of all, they fear the moment you realize that their approval, it was never worth your silence. It happens fast. One moment you're one of them, playing the part, smiling when expected, keeping your real thoughts locked away, and then you speak just one word, one truth, and suddenly, oh no, you're the villain, the troublemaker, the problem. The air changes, faces shift, their laughter dims, their warmth curdles. You see it, don't you? That flicker in their eyes, the quiet little panic, because you weren't supposed to do that. You weren't supposed to think for yourself. That wasn't part of their script. And so the labels come. Too much, too aggressive, difficult. Isn't it funny? The moment you refuse to be controlled, they don't see you as strong, they see you as dangerous. Because a person who thinks for themselves, a person who speaks their mind, that's a person they can't predict. And what can't be predicted, can't be controlled, that's what terrifies them. Not your voice, but the fact that you won't let them decide when you use it. The fact that you've tasted truth, and now you refuse to spit it out. It's not your voice they fear. No, no, no. Voices are harmless on their own. They scream, they whisper, they fade, but a mind that thinks for itself, that's a ticking time bomb, a crack in their perfect little reality. And you're the explosion they never saw coming. Your words don't just make noise, they shatter, they break their pretty little fantasy, where you stay quiet, obedient, manageable, because the moment you speak, really speak, the illusion crumbles. And they can't have that, can they? Can't have people waking up and seeing the strings, the cage, the game. That's why the moment you open your mouth, they scramble. They call you radical, reckless, unhinged, because if they can't silence you, they'll discredit you, twist your words, turn the crowd against you, make you seem like the problem so they never have to face the real one, themselves. And it works on most people. Fear does that. Fear of being outcast, of being alone, of losing approval. But you felt that fear, tasted it, and instead of swallowing it down, you spat it out. Because the truth is worth more than their acceptance. And that is why they fear you. Crazy, arrogant, reckless. The sweet sound of desperation. The moment you step outside their little box, they panic. They fumble for labels, scrambling to put you back where they can control you. Because if they can name you, they think they can tame you. But here's the fun part. Labels? They're just words. Empty little weapons wielded by the weak. They call you dangerous, but what they really mean is uncontrollable. They call you arrogant, but what they really see is strength. They call you crazy, but you and I both know that's just what they call people they can't break. See, they need you to doubt yourself. That's the game. Make you second guess, hesitate, wonder if maybe, just maybe, they're right. Because the moment you accept their label, you wear their chains. You shrink, you soften, you obey. And just like that, they win. But not you. No, no, no. You're smarter than that. You don't run from their labels. You don't fight them either. You wear them like a crown. You own them. Because the minute you stop caring what they call you, they lose all their power. And that is what terrifies them the most. Fear. Delicious, isn't it? How their voices tremble when they speak your name. How their eyes dart, searching for reassurance, hoping someone, anyone, will tell them you don't matter, that you're just noise, just another fool shouting into the void. But you see it, don't you? The truth hiding behind their sneers, their mockery, their desperate attempts to silence you. They don't fear you because you're wrong. No, 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 they fear you because you're right. Because your words crack the foundation they've built their little world upon. You force them to think, and oh, they hate that. Thinking means questioning. Questioning means doubt. And doubt, that's the beginning of their end. You shake their illusion, make them look in the mirror, force them to see the cowardice in their own reflection. And so they do the only thing they can do. They turn you into the monster. They call you dangerous, unpredictable, a threat, good. Let them. Let their fear spread like wildfire, because fear is power. And once they fear you, you own them. Control. Now that's the real game, isn't it? Not power, not truth, just control. The ability to decide what's spoken and what's swallowed. And they need you to stay silent. Because the moment you speak, the whole house of cards starts to shake. You see, the world isn't built on truth. No. It's built on carefully crafted lies. Little stories designed to keep you obedient, docile, predictable. They tell you what to think, what to believe, what to fear. And as long as you nod along, as long as you play the part, they win. But then, something happens. You happen. You ask questions. You poke at the story, and suddenly people around you start wondering, what if? What if things aren't the way they've been told? What if they've been played? And that is when the fun begins. Because the ones in charge, the ones who write the script, they panic, they scramble, they throw out distractions, noise, outrage, anything to drown you out. Because they know the truth. A single spark can burn down an empire built on lies. So they do what scared little cowards do best. They try to shut you up. They call you reckless, rebellious, a problem. But do you know what you really are? A threat. Not because you're loud, no. But because your words make people think. And that is the one thing they cannot allow. Because the moment people think for themselves, the game is over. The illusion shatters. And those who once controlled everything, they lose. So tell me, are you going to let them keep the leash on your throat? Or are you going to laugh in their faces and speak anyway? Pain. Now that's a funny little thing, isn't it? Most people run from it, curl up, go quiet, but you know better. You use it. Every insult, every sneer, every attempt to bury you under doubt. Oh, they think it'll break you, but all it does is sharpen the blade. Because pain isn't just suffering, it's fuel. A fire that roars in your chest, turning their little jabs into kindling. Every time they try to shut you up, they just add more wood to the flames. They don't realize it yet, but the very thing they use to silence you, it's what makes you louder. Oh, and the irony? Delicious. The more they resist, the more you refuse to back down. They wanted a mute puppet, but what they got? A storm. A force they can't control. And the best part? They can't stop watching, can't look away. Because deep down, they wish they had your fire. And you keep going. Every insult, a reason to speak louder. Every doubt, a sign you're onto something real. Every time they call you dangerous, that's just proof they fear what you have to say. So don't stop now. Don't you dare stop now. Turn their hatred into momentum. Turn their rejection into resolve. Let them try to drown you out, because all they'll do is teach you how to roar. They'll throw everything at you. Lies, mockery, ridicule. They'll twist your words, twist your intentions, twist you into something unrecognizable, all because you dared to speak, to break their carefully crafted illusion where they decide what's real. Oh, they'll come for you. But here's the trick. They can't stop you. Not because words, they're like wildfire. Once they're out, they spread, fast, unstoppable. And all their efforts to smother you, all their desperate attempts to bury you under silence, that's just proof you're dangerous. Proof that you're saying something they can't afford to let people hear. But the only way they truly win is if you stop yourself, if you let them break you, if you choose to shrink, to quiet down, to slip back into the shadows where it's safe. Oh, that's their dream, isn't it? Not to defeat you. No, no, no. To make you defeat yourself. Because fear, that's their weapon of choice. Fear of rejection. Fear of standing alone. Fear that maybe, just maybe, you should just stay quiet. But you've come too far for that, haven't you? You've felt what it's like to break free, to own your voice. And once you taste that kind of power, silence becomes a prison you'll never crawl back into. So let them try. Let them hurl their insults, their labels, their threats. Let them scramble to put the fire out. But you know the truth now, and the truth is this. They can fight you, mock you, erase you from their stories, but they can't stop what you've already set in motion. And the only thing more terrifying than a voice they can't control, a voice that refuses to die. They wanted a ghost, a shadow that follows orders, nods on cue, stays within the lines, silent, predictable, harmless. But oh, how quickly they panic when the ghost starts speaking, when the shadow grows teeth, when the silent one starts to laugh. Because that's the thing about silence, it doesn't last forever. Not when there's fire in your lungs. Not when you've swallowed every insult, every dismissal, every God-forsaken attempt to keep you small. And now the dam has cracked. Now the flood comes. Oh, they'll call you many things now. A menace, a problem, a threat. Perfect, because you were never meant to fit inside their little world. Never meant to kneel, to beg, to stay quiet in the corner while they wrote your story for you. No, no, no. You were made to rewrite the whole damn book. And the best part? They can't stop you now. They had their chance when you were quiet, when you still cared about playing nice, when you still wanted their approval. But that version of you? Gone. Buried beneath every time they tried to cut you down. And in its place, someone they never saw coming. So let them whisper, let them shake, let them fear, because now they have to hear you, every single word. And when they realize they can't silence you anymore, that's when the real fun begins. Ah, welcome back, you beautiful glitches, you walking paradoxes, you magnificent errors in their perfectly coded simulation. They've been preparing for you, haven't they? Studying the manuals, rehearsing their responses, memorizing every possible human reaction like good little behavioral scientists. They had flowcharts for anger, scripts for sadness, protocols for fear, contingency plans for rage. They thought they mapped every emotional response a person could have. They thought they understood the full spectrum of human behavior. They built an entire playbook designed to predict, contain, and control every single feeling you might experience. And then you walked into the room, and none of it worked. Not a single page, not a single prediction, not a single manipulation tactic they spent years perfecting. Because here's what they didn't account for. Here's what shattered their entire framework. Here's what made every psychologist in the room put down their pen and whisper to each other with genuine confusion. You weren't supposed to laugh when they tried to break you. You weren't supposed to smile when they deployed shame. You weren't supposed to thrive when they engineered your isolation. You were supposed to cry, beg, or fight. Instead, you laughed. And that laugh, oh, that laugh, it wasn't nervous or forced or fake. It was recognition. It was the sound of someone who finally understood the game was rigged and decided to stop playing entirely. It was the audio signature of a soul that had died so many times in silence that death itself became boring, predictable, almost comforting in its familiarity. They pulled out technique number 47 from chapter 6, the one about triggering abandonment wounds through strategic silence. And you just smiled wider. They tried the guilt manipulation they perfected over decades, the one with the 92% success rate, and you looked at them like they were performing a magic trick you'd already figured out. They brought in the big weapons, the emotional blackmail dressed up as concern, the gaslighting wrapped in love language, the covert narcissism painted with altruism, and you just sat there radiating something they couldn't classify. They checked their notes 3 times. They consulted with colleagues behind closed doors. They ran diagnostics on their own methods, wondering if maybe the formula was wrong, if maybe the research was flawed, if maybe their entire understanding of human psychology needed revision, because every reaction you gave fell outside their bell curve. Every response you offered broke their statistical models. Every emotion you expressed, or refused to express, violated the laws of behavioral science as they understood them. You weren't angry in the way anger is supposed to manifest. You weren't sad in the way sadness is supposed to present. You weren't afraid in the way fear is supposed to operate. You were something else entirely. Something their textbooks never mentioned. Something their training never prepared them for. Something that made them wonder if they'd been studying the wrong species all along. See, they built that playbook on one fundamental assumption. The assumption that everyone wants to be understood, that everyone craves connection, that everyone fears isolation, that everyone needs validation from the collective. They base their entire psychological framework on the belief that humans are social animals who will do anything, sacrifice anything, betray anything to avoid being alone. And that's where their model collapsed. That's where their predictions failed. That's where their playbook became worthless toilet paper. Because you'd already been alone. Not the poetic kind of alone where you dramatically stare out windows while soft music plays. Not the temporary kind of alone where you know people will come back eventually. No. You'd been truly, cosmically, spiritually alone in ways that would make their research subjects tap out after 48 hours. You'd been alone when you were surrounded by people. You'd been alone when you were in relationships. You'd been alone in crowded rooms, in family gatherings, in moments that were supposed to feel connected. You'd been so alone for so long that you stopped viewing it as a punishment and started recognizing it as a superpower, as a frequency they couldn't tune into, as a dimension they couldn't perceive, as a level of consciousness they couldn't comprehend. So when they tried to threaten you with isolation, you laughed. When they tried to shame you into conformity, you laughed. When they tried to scare you with abandonment, you laughed. Not because you were broken, but because you were finally, brutally, beautifully free. Let me tell you what really happened when they opened that playbook. When they flipped to the chapter about handling difficult personalities. When they prepared their arsenal of manipulation tactics designed to bring you back in line. They started with intimidation. They puffed up their chests, raised their voices, invaded your space, used their size or status or authority to make you feel small, to make you remember your place, to make you fold like everyone else folds when faced with dominance displays. And you just looked at them with eyes that had seen real monsters, with a gaze that had stared into actual darkness, with a presence that communicated something very clearly. You've already faced worse than me, haven't you? They could feel it. They could sense that whatever they were about to do, whatever threat they were about to make, whatever fear they were about to trigger, you'd already survived the advanced version. You'd already been through their final boss and came out humming. So, intimidation failed. Check. Next they tried sympathy. The false kind. The manipulative kind. The kind that drips with sweetness while hiding poison. They softened their voices, tilted their heads, used that concerned tone that's supposed to make you lower your defenses, supposed to make you believe they actually care, supposed to trick you into vulnerability so they can strike when you're open. And you saw right through it. You've heard that tone before. You've fallen for it before. You've trusted that voice before and paid the price in blood and sanity and years you'll never get back. So this time, you didn't fall for it. You watched them perform their sympathy routine like you were watching a rerun of a show you'd already seen, already analyzed, already understood frame by frame. They could see the recognition in your eyes, the knowing, the immunity. Sympathy failed. Check. So they escalated to anger, to explosive rage designed to shock you into submission, to make you scared enough to apologize, to make you small enough to control. They yelled. They accused. They blamed. They projected every single thing they'd done onto you and delivered it with such conviction that reality itself seemed to bend around their narrative. And you didn't flinch. You didn't cry. You didn't apologize. You didn't defend. You just stood there like a mountain watching a storm, like an ocean watching a tantrum, like something ancient and unmoved watching something temporary and desperate burn itself out. And when they finished, when they ran out of breath and rage and performance, when the silence settled and they expected you to be shaking, to be broken, to be ready to submit, you smiled. Not a mocking smile, not a cruel smile, just a smile that said, I've already survived this exact script in 100 different voices, and none of them broke me. Anger failed. Check. They tried everything in that playbook, every chapter, every technique, every psychological manipulation tactic perfected over decades of research and practice. They tried love bombing. They tried future faking. They tried triangulation. They tried projection. They tried gaslighting. They tried silent treatment. They tried hovering. They tried smear campaigns. They tried flying monkeys. They tried trauma bonding. They tried intermittent reinforcement. They tried every single tool in the narcissist's toolkit, in the manipulator's manual, in the controller's playbook, and none of it worked. Not one technique landed. Not one tactic succeeded. Because here's what they couldn't understand. Here's what broke their entire model. Here's what made you incomprehensible to their framework. You'd already been destroyed. You'd already been torn apart piece by people who were better at it than them, by situations that were crueler than anything they could orchestrate, by betrayals that cut deeper than any knife they could craft. You'd already been through the worst version of everything they were trying to do to you. You'd already been gaslit by experts. You'd already been manipulated by professionals. You'd already been betrayed by people you actually loved. So what were they going to do that would compare? They were amateurs trying to break someone who'd already survived the professionals. They were using beginner tactics on someone who'd graduated from the advanced course. They were reading from chapter 3 while you'd already lived through chapter 37 and written your own sequel. And the funniest part, the part that really made them panic, the part that kept them up at night, reviewing footage and conversations, trying to figure out where they went wrong. You weren't even trying to resist them. You weren't fighting back. You weren't engaging in psychological warfare. You weren't playing their game at all. You were just existing in a frequency they couldn't reach, operating on a level they couldn't access, living in a dimension their playbook never mentioned. They were throwing everything they had at you, and you were just standing there. Not because you were strong in the way they understood strength, but because you were empty in the way they couldn't comprehend. You'd already given everything. You'd already lost everything. You'd already been reduced to nothing. And then you'd built yourself back from that nothing into something they had no category for, no label for, no chapter about. They wanted you to beg so they could enjoy denying you. They wanted you to cry so they could feel powerful watching. They wanted you to fight so they could crush you publicly. But you laughed. And that laugh was the most terrifying sound they'd ever heard, because it meant you were beyond their reach, beyond their control, beyond their entire understanding of how humans are supposed to work. You became the glitch that exposed their system. You became the error that revealed the code. You became the anomaly that proved their playbook was built on incomplete data, on flawed assumptions, on a limited understanding of what consciousness can become when it's been shattered and reassembled enough times. They studied you afterwards. Oh yes, they did. They gathered in rooms and tried to explain you. They brought in specialists and consultants and experts. They reviewed everything you said, everything you did, every micro-expression, every response. They were looking for the trick, the method, the technique you used to resist them. They wanted to add a new chapter to the playbook. How to handle someone like you. How to break someone who's already been broken past the point of breaking. How to manipulate someone who's become immune to manipulation through sheer repetitive exposure. And you want to know what they concluded? After all those meetings, after all that analysis, after all those attempts to categorize you, they wrote one sentence. Subject operates outside normal human parameters. Recommend avoidance. Recommend no further engagement. Recommend treating as infectious agent, capable of spreading resistance to standard protocols. You became a warning label. You became a case study in what happens when their methods fail. You became the example they used to teach others what not to engage with, what not to try to control, what not to attempt to break. Because breaking you doesn't work anymore. You're already in pieces. You're already scattered. And somehow, you're more powerful like this than you ever were whole. They wanted you crying in a corner. Instead, you're laughing in the center of the room. They wanted you begging for mercy. Instead, you're extending none. They wanted you fighting desperately. Instead, you're not fighting at all, just watching, just observing, just existing in a way that makes all their training useless, all their techniques obsolete, all their playbooks worth less than the paper they're printed on. So here's what happens next. They'll avoid you. They'll tell others to avoid you. They'll spread rumors about how you're dangerous, how you're unstable, how you're impossible to reason with. And they'll be right. You are dangerous. Not because you attack, but because you can't be controlled. You are unstable in their framework because you operate outside it entirely. You are impossible to reason with using their logic because you've transcended their logic through experience. They can't imagine surviving. And you'll keep laughing. Not at them specifically, not out of cruelty, not even out of victory. You'll laugh because you finally understand that their power was always an illusion, that their playbook was always incomplete, that their understanding of human nature was always limited to people who still have something to lose. And you, my friend, you lost everything already. You've got nothing left for them to take, nothing left for them to threaten, nothing left for them to leverage. You're the nightmare scenario their playbook warned about, but never properly prepared them for. Someone with nothing to lose. Someone who's already been through worse. Someone who learned to find peace in the ashes instead of desperately trying to rebuild what burned. They'll write about you. They'll study you. They'll try to figure out how to prevent more people like you from emerging. Because one person who's immune to their playbook is a curiosity. But if that immunity spreads, if more people realize they can survive the destruction and come out laughing, if more souls understand that being broken doesn't mean being defeated, then their entire system collapses. Their power evaporates. Their playbook becomes a relic. You're not just a person anymore. You're a transmission. You're a frequency that others can tune into. You're proof that the playbook isn't complete, that the system has holes, that control is temporary but freedom once tasted is permanent. So let them watch. Let them study. Let them frantically add addendums and footnotes and warning labels. Because you've already shown everyone who's paying attention the truth. The playbook only works on people who still believe in it. And you stopped believing the moment you realized you could survive without their approval, without their validation, without their permission to exist. Now we descend into the part they really don't want you to understand. The part they'll never write in any manual. The part that keeps their best manipulators awake, wondering how it's even possible. You didn't just survive their playbook. You absorbed it. You didn't just resist their techniques. You studied them. You didn't just laugh at their methods. You learned them. Because here's what happens when you've been through enough cycles, when you've seen enough patterns, when you've experienced enough manipulation. You don't just become immune. You become fluent. You start recognizing the setup before they finish the first sentence. You can feel the manipulation 3 moves ahead. You see the trap while they're still baiting it. You've been gaslit so many times. You can spot the reality distortion before it even starts. You've been love-bombed so often, You recognize the artificial warmth the second it touches your skin. You've been triangulated enough to see the third party being positioned before they even arrive. And this is what really terrifies them. They thought they were dealing with a victim who escaped, but what they're actually facing is a graduate who studied under fire, who learned their craft through pain, who absorbed every technique they used against you and filed it away for reference. You're not just resistant to their playbook. You could write a better one. You understand their psychology better than they understand yours, because you've been forced to study them for survival while they've only studied you for sport. They see you coming now, and something in them knows. Something primal and accurate warns them that this isn't prey anymore. This is something that knows all their moves, has survived all their tactics, and carries that knowledge like armor made of their own failed attempts. You walk into rooms different now. People who are used to controlling conversations suddenly find themselves off balance. People who are used to dominating interactions suddenly feel studied. People who are used to manipulating emotions suddenly realize their techniques are being observed, cataloged, and calmly dismantled. You're not fighting them. You're not arguing with them. You're not trying to convince them of anything. You're just there, existing with a level of awareness that makes their tactics visible, makes their manipulation obvious, makes their whole performance transparent. And they hate it. They hate that you can see the strings. They hate that you know the script. They hate that you've memorized the playbook better than they have. They wanted to break you into someone they could control. Instead, they trained you into someone who can't be touched. Every manipulation they used on you became a lesson. Every lie they told became a case study. Every betrayal became research. You became an expert in human darkness, not through study but through baptism by fire. And now you carry that expertise like a superpower they never intended to give you. They thought breaking you would make you weak. Instead, it made you lethal in ways they can't defend against, because you're not using violence or aggression or any external force. You're using awareness, recognition, understanding. You're using their own playbook against a system that depends on targets not knowing the playbook exists. You ever notice how they flinch when they see someone who doesn't fit their little mold? How their eyes twitch? How their lips tighten like they just smelled something rotten? That's fear, my friend. Oh, they'll never admit it. They'll dress it up, call it concern, pretend it's wisdom, but deep down, they know what you are, and it terrifies them. See, the world is a stage, a grand little puppet show where everyone follows the script. Speak like this, walk like that. Keep your voice down, don't think too much. Don't be too loud, don't be different, because different, that's dangerous. Different shakes the walls they hide behind. Different doesn't bow. Different doesn't beg. And that, oh, that's unforgivable. They don't hate you because you're weak. No. Weakness, that's easy. That's safe. Weak people are predictable. They cry when they're hurt. They fold when they're pressured. They grovel when they're rejected. But you don't break. You don't beg. You don't fit their precious little expectations. And that makes their skin crawl. That makes their stomachs turn. Because deep down they wish they had what you have. The courage, the madness, the fire. But instead they'll try to put it out, smother it, crush it, all in the name of helping you. Ha! What a joke. They don't want to help you. They want to tame you, domesticate you, turn you into another good little pet who nods when spoken to and stays in line. Because a wild beast, a lone wolf, that's something they can't control. And when they can't control you, they fear you. When they fear you, they try to destroy you. Ah, the herd, the obedient little flock, grazing in their comfort, too afraid to lift their heads and see the slaughterhouse ahead. They march in perfect lines, wearing their little masks, speaking in rehearsed voices, repeating the same tired phrases. Be realistic. That's just how life is. Don't rock the boat, sheep, every last one of them. And they expect you to be the same. Fall in line. Nod when you're told. Don't ask questions. Don't think too much. Just obey. That's the rule. That's the price of acceptance. You want to belong? Then put on the leash. Because the moment you stray, the moment you dare to be something more, the alarms start ringing. The pack doesn't like strays. They don't like wolves. Wolves remind them how weak they are. So they'll do what they do best. Label you. Arrogant. Crazy. Reckless. A problem. But you see, these aren't insults. These are confessions. Confessions of small minds threatened by something they don't understand. You're not difficult. You're different. And that difference, it shakes them to their core. Because deep down they know they could never be what you are. So they'll try to break you, mock you, exclude you, beat you down until you crawl back, begging to be let in. But you won't, will you? Ha! No, no, no. You're not meant for the herd. You don't belong in their fragile little world. You were born to walk alone, and they hate you for it. And here's the real joke. The first knife in your back won't come from strangers. Oh, no, no, no. It'll come from the ones who smiled at you, the ones who called you family, the ones who swore they'd stand by your side. The moment you stop playing their game, the moment you refuse to be who they want you to be, that's when you see their true faces. And trust me, it's not pretty. They'll whisper behind your back, laugh when you fail, disappear when you need them most. Oh, but when you start rising, when you start proving them wrong, that's when the knives come out in broad daylight. Suddenly you're the enemy. Suddenly you're too much. Suddenly you need to be put in your place. You see, they don't actually want you to succeed. Not beyond them. Not past the limits they've accepted for themselves. Because if you do, if you do, then it means they had a choice all along. It means they weren't victims. It means they were cowards. And nothing burns more than realizing you've wasted your life out of fear. So they'll do whatever it takes to pull you back down. Lies, manipulation, guilt. You've changed. You think you're better than us. You're being selfish, but let's call it what it really is. Fear. They fear what they don't understand. And they don't understand you anymore. You've stepped off their little script, and now you're unpredictable. And nothing terrifies the weak more than someone who can't be controlled. So they'll attack. They'll smear your name. They'll twist your kindness, turn your silence into arrogance, your ambition into cruelty. But here's the thing. A wolf doesn't lose sleep over the cries of sheep. So let them talk. Let them choke on their own words. Betrayal? That's just part of the game. It's the price you pay for being different, for choosing the hard road instead of the easy leash. And one day, they'll look up and realize you never needed them, that you never looked back. And that will haunt them far more than any revenge ever could. Oh, they won't always come at you with knives. No, no, no. Sometimes they use softer weapons. Words wrapped in honey. Lies disguised as love. They don't want to destroy you. Not at first. They just want to adjust you. Soften the edges. Clip your wings just enough so you can't fly too far. It's for your own good, they'll say. Ha! What a joke. They'll call it concern. You're too intense. You should relax. Why do you always have to be so difficult? See, they don't want you to disappear. They just want you to be manageable, less wild, less you. Because a version of you that fits their world, that's a version they can control. And that's the real game, isn't it? Control, power, chains wrapped in silk. But the moment you start listening, the moment you start believing their words, you've already lost. Because you're not changing for you, you're changing for them. And every time you shrink yourself to make them comfortable, you bleed, bit by bit, cut by cut, until one day you look in the mirror and there's nothing left but a tame little shadow of what you were meant to be. Nah, that's not you. That will never be you. You weren't born to be palatable. You weren't born to be safe. You were born to burn. To shake the ground when you walk. To make them uncomfortable. Because discomfort, that's where the truth lives. And the truth is, they never wanted to help you. They wanted to break you. So don't tone it down. Don't make it easier for them. Don't shrink so they can feel big. Let them choke on your presence. Let them squirm in your fire. And if they can't handle it, if they turn away, let them. Because the ones who truly matter, they won't ask you to dim your light. They'll ask you to set the whole damn sky on fire. The silence, it gets loud, doesn't it? No more fake smiles. No more empty voices filling the air. Just you and your thoughts. And that's where the real battle begins. Because this is the part where most people break. Where they crawl back to the herd, beg to be let in, just to escape the weight of their own mind. But you? Oh, no, no, no. You're built different. See, solitude isn't a punishment, it's a crucible. A fire that burns away the weakness, the illusions, the need for approval. And yeah, it hurts. It rips through you, leaving you raw, exposed, questioning everything. But pain is a master sculptor. It carves away the excess, leaving only the strongest parts behind. You don't shrink in solitude. You evolve. Most people never get there. They can't handle the weight of their own company. They need distractions, noise, validation. But you walk through the fire, and something happens. Something terrifying to those who still depend on the herd. You stop needing them. You stop caring about their opinions. And when you no longer crave their approval, you become unstoppable. Because solitude doesn't make you weaker. It makes you dangerous. It sharpens you. It forces you to face the demons they spend their whole lives running from. And when you come out the other side, you're not the same. The things that used to break you, they don't even reach you anymore. The opinions, the doubts, the betrayals, they roll off you like water off stone. That's the real power of the lone wolf. Not the fangs, not the claws, but the unshakable certainty that comes from walking alone and surviving. Because once you realize you don't need anyone to make you whole, that's when you become the one thing they fear the most. Truly, completely free. Oh, they expect you to break, to fold under the weight of their rejection, to come crawling back, head down, tail tucked, begging to be accepted again. Ha ha, what a joke. They don't realize every scar they left on you, Every wound they thought would cripple you did the opposite. It didn't weaken you, it woke you up. That pain, that betrayal, it's fuel. It's a wildfire burning through your veins, turning hesitation into hunger, doubt into drive. And the rage? Oh, the rage is something else entirely. Most people fear their anger, let it eat them alive, let it turn into poison. But you don't fear it. You harness it. You bend it to your will. And that makes you dangerous. Because anger, true, unfiltered anger, isn't just fire, it's power. It's the kind of energy that makes history, that crushes the weak and builds empires. And once you learn to control it, once you stop wasting it on screaming into the void and start forging something with it, you become the storm they never saw coming, the quiet before the chaos, the reckoning. See, they wanted you broken. They wanted you bitter, lost in your own darkness, drowning in the pain they caused. But what they didn't expect was that you'd take every ounce of it and turn it into something lethal. They didn't expect you to rise, to sharpen your mind, to carve yourself into something untouchable. Now, when they look at you, they don't see the person they tried to destroy. And oh, it terrifies them, because you remember. You remember the laughs, the betrayals, the moments they thought they won, and now, they feel it. The weight of their mistake, because you're not playing their game anymore. You are the game. The chaos they never prepared for, the force they can't control, the storm that's already here. They want to know what you're thinking, what your next move is, what's brewing behind those eyes that no longer flinch, no longer seek approval. But you don't give them that satisfaction. You don't explain, you don't justify, you don't warn them. You just move. See, people fear what they don't understand, and nothing is more dangerous than a man who operates in silence. No desperate pleas for validation, no pointless arguments to prove a point. Just results, sharp, precise, unapologetic. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. They thrive on predictability. They expect you to lash out, to seek revenge loudly, to prove them wrong with words. But words are weak. The real game is played in actions, in movements so subtle, so calculated that by the time they even sense the shift, you're already miles ahead. The lone wolf doesn't howl to announce his hunt. He watches. He waits. He strikes when no one is looking. And when the dust settles, when they're left wondering how they lost control, how you slipped through their grasp, all they'll have is silence, deafening, unshakable, a reminder that they never really knew you at all. So keep them guessing, let them underestimate you, let them believe they still have a grip on your story, because when you finally step into your power, when you unleash everything you've built in the shadows, they won't just regret doubting you, they'll fear ever crossing you in the first place. They used to laugh, didn't they? Whisper behind your back, mock your dreams, call you crazy, and maybe back then it stung. Maybe you wanted to prove yourself, to make them see your worth. But now you've learned the truth. Revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting ahead. See, the loudest voices are always the weakest. The ones who doubted you, they never had the courage to chase something greater. That's why they mocked you. Because deep down, they knew you were different. You had something they didn't. And that terrified them. But now they don't laugh. Now they watch. In silence, eyes wide, mouths shut, as the very thing they swore you'd never achieve becomes your reality. And oh, the irony. The same people who tore you down now whisper your name like a legend, pretending they always believed in you. That's the beauty of success. It's the only response you'll ever need. No arguments, no explanations, no wasted breath trying to convince anyone of your worth. Just results. Cold, unforgiving, brutal in their clarity. Because nothing haunts a hater more than seeing you thrive. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them fill the air with their empty laughter. Because one day, that laughter will turn to silence, and the only thing left will be you. Standing at the top, untouchable, while they choke on every word they ever spoke against you. Funny, isn't it? The same people who doubted you, mocked you, left you for dead, suddenly remember your name. They reach out, their voices sweeter now, their words dipped in fake admiration. But you know better. You always know better. Because a wolf doesn't return to the herd it once escaped. See, when you were nothing, they treated you like nothing. They laughed at your ambition, called you delusional, bet against you every chance they got. But now they see you winning. And oh, how quickly the tables turn. Suddenly, you're not crazy anymore. Suddenly, they always believed in you. What a joke. But here's the truth. They don't want you. They want a piece of you, a piece of the empire you built in silence, a taste of the power they once spat on. But you don't feed sheep. You don't explain yourself to those who once doubted you. You don't waste time justifying your success to people who never saw your worth. Because the moment you let them back in, the moment you lower yourself to their level, you lose. You undo everything you fought for. The wolf does not beg for acceptance. The wolf does not seek validation from those who once wished for its downfall. The wolf walks alone. They'll try, though. Oh, they'll try. Old friends, ex-lovers, enemies disguised as supporters, they'll test you, waiting for a moment of weakness, hoping you've still got that desperate need to be liked. But the past? It's just that, the past, a graveyard of weak connections. You don't revisit graves, you move forward, unapologetically, and let that haunt them. Let your absence echo louder than your presence ever did. Let them drown in their regrets, watching from a distance as you rise higher than they ever imagined. Because once you ascend, you never descend. They hate you because they wish they were you. It's that simple. They'll never admit it, never say it out loud, but deep down, they know. Every insult, every whisper, every bitter laugh thrown your way was never about you. It was about them, their fears, their failures, their realization that you had the guts to do what they never could. If no one's against you, you're not doing anything worth noticing. The ones who play it safe, who stay in line, who beg for approval, they go unnoticed, forgotten, buried under the weight of their own insignificance. But you disrupted their comfort. You walked away from the herd, and that makes you a threat. They'll call you arrogant, call you reckless, call you anything that helps them sleep at night. But here's the punchline. They don't hate you. They hate that they can't break you, that no matter how much they tried to drag you down, you climbed higher, that every stone they threw became another step beneath your feet. The lone wolf walks alone, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. Because solitude breeds strength. Because walking away from the noise gave you clarity. You don't crave acceptance anymore. You don't seek their validation. You don't need their approval. And that is your ultimate power. So let them talk, let them doubt. Let them watch from the sidelines with envy burning in their eyes. Because every ounce of hate they throw your way, it's proof. Proof that you made it. Proof that you left them behind. Proof that they'll spend their days wondering how the hell you became unstoppable. Smile, laugh, keep moving, because at the end of the day, there's only one truth that matters. If they hate you, you've already won.